Well, hello. Thank you so much. Great intro. I appreciate that. It's always interesting to hear people introduce me. I feel like I'm like getting ready to do stand-up comedy or something. I got the nice little seat up here and microphone stand. Well, listen. I know I've been kind of MIA for like the last 3 or 4 months that you guys have been meeting, and for those of you who don't know, I had to have knee surgery. So that's why I haven't been here, because I had to have knee surgery. And it's interesting that tonight's the night I get to speak to you all. But I'm going to kind of go in a different direction. I think it's important that we talk about self awareness. I think it's important that we discuss in length and in depth the actual, and I want to use the term intellectual property, but I want you to understand, I know everybody knows intellectual property is like when you design something, you come up with a new idea, some graphics or something. But I want to talk about the intellectual property of ourselves, who we are, what we are, what we're made up of, because we have to own that. And I want to talk about that because of my experience in the car accident that led to me having to have knee surgery. So, to give you a rundown really quick what happened, I'm sitting at a red light. There's a guy in front of me driving a Lexus. And I'm driving my little 2010 Pontiac Grand Prix, 2004 Pontiac Grand Prix. Excuse me, my bad. And I'm sitting there, and behind me is a line of traffic. The light's red. Soon as the light turns green, the horns begin to honk from behind me. And I notice that the guy in front of me isn't moving. So I blow my horn. Beep, beep. And the guy pulls off. He makes a right turn. I make a right turn. As I'm making a right turn, he pulls over to the right shoulder. Get this. He pulls over to the right shoulder. And shortly after I pass him, I see in my rear, my right side mirror, him speeding up in the shoulder. And he slams right into my car. And I lose control a little bit. I slam on brakes and all this good stuff. Hence, I tore my meniscus from slamming on brakes. I know, crazy, right? But I get out of the car, and the guy comes up to me, and he says, "You will not tell me what to do." And I said, "Excuse me, what are you talking about? You were sitting there blowing your horn at me, demanding that I go. I go when I want to go. You will not tell me what to do." I thought to myself, this man is crazy. I said, "You know what, sir? I'm going to get back in my car, and I'm going to wait for the cops to get here." He said, "That's not necessary." I said, "No, it is." I said, "Because I didn't blow my horn at you to try to make you do something. I blew my horn at you because the people behind me were blowing, and the light was green. I thought maybe, just maybe, you didn't realize the light was green." He said, "So you blew at me because they were blowing at you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm so sorry." I remember saying, "Dude, you just hit my car because you thought I was telling you what to do, right?" So, bringing it in for you to understand where I'm going with this. This man was so angry because someone had told him what to do. Right? At least he felt like someone told him what to do. When we look at that, he was wanting to be responsible for whatever choice he made, whether it was to sit at the light or to make a right turn. At the end of the day, Mr. Jowers wanted to do what he wanted to do. And he wanted to be responsible for his choice. So, Sydney, what do you mean intellectual property? How are you going to tie this together? In life, we have to make a decision that I am who I am. I can't change that. I was born this way. God created me this way. I have a purpose. I have a destiny. I am trying to accomplish something. I am trying to go somewhere. So because I have this destiny, because I have this purpose, because I am on my way somewhere, I cannot afford to allow anyone else to dictate how I execute my life. That's my intellectual property. Those are my thoughts. Those are my ideas. I dress the way I dress because this is what makes me feel good. I wear my hair the way I wear my hair because this is what makes me feel like me. I drive the car that I drive because I like it. Do you understand? It is important that we make a decision early on in life that I'm going to control the narrative of my life. And so often I sit and I wonder, and I'm going to quote some scriptures here, sort of. I'm not going to really be preacher with you guys because that's not the setting, but I want to give you a little bit of a story. In the Bible, Elijah, the prophet Elijah does what God asked him to do, even though he really didn't want to. And after he calls down fire from heaven, after he prophesies this drought is coming, Elisha finds himself sitting by a tree. And he begins to weep, and he declares unto God, I have had enough. Lord, he said, take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. That got me. Because what I realized about what Elijah had done things that he had never seen done before. Elijah had prophesied things and they came to pass. Elijah called fire down from heaven for the very first time, and the fire came down. But what was happening was Elijah, in the Bible, that was a hit out for Elijah. Jezebel had placed a hit out on Elijah. She wanted him dead. She said by this time tomorrow, she would have done to him what he'd done to her prophets, which was slay them. So there Elijah is sitting under this tree, weeping, and he tells God, just take my life because I am no better than my ancestors. And that to me made me go, God, how is it that this man see you do everything that he asks you to do, and he says, just take my life? How is it so that this man asks you to take his life and throws in your face, I am no better than my ancestors? And the Lord quickly reminded me of a scripture in Job. I believe it's Job, the 3rd chapter, around verse 24, 25, might be 25. And he says, what I feared has come upon me, and what I dreaded has happened to me. And I began to meditate on those two scriptures. Elijah saying he's no better than his ancestors. Job saying what I feared the most has come upon me, and what I dreaded has happened to me. And then I was reminded of something I heard a friend of mine say many years ago. Whatever you focus on is what you will become. Today we're talking about protecting our intellectual property. And the overall theme of today's gathering is moving forward. I want to say this to you guys. You have the power to shape your future today. You have the ability to create positive change and impact in your communities. You have the power to be more than what your mother was or is, what your father was or is, what your grandfather, your grandmother done. You have the power to be so great. But you must first protect the intellectual property of one, and that is you. You see, Elijah focused on what his ancestors had done. He took note of how his ancestors had done things. And he says to God, I am no better than they are. But you are better than them because you have an opportunity to do differently. What are you saying, Sydney? How do I have the ability to do that? You have the ability to do that because today you get to decide on what the future is for you. Today you get to decide on where you're trying to get to. This is why it's important that you set goals. This is why it's important you write out a vision. Because when you write this stuff out, you can always go back and read it. You can always go and see where you are in the plan. You see, many of us think that this is just something that's supposed to happen for us. And we find ourselves in a depressed state when things aren't happening. But the reality is you've been looking at the past, the failed past, so long that you can't even see or even imagine or even picture. You can't even fathom what a bright future is. Because you've studied the past for so long. All the past should do is teach you lessons. And those lessons should create new opportunities, new classes. And with those classes should create new opportunities for graduation. And with those graduations should come new levels of degrees. And I'm not talking about going to college. I'm not talking about going to a school. I'm talking about life degrees. At some point in time, you have to go, I've experienced enough of that to know I'm not going that way. So I don't even consider it. I'm just focused on where I'm trying to get to. I have a vision. I have a plan. I have a goal. I'm going to achieve that. It's 2016, and I'm here to tell you right now that by the year 2020, we should see some evidence of your vision, your plans, your goals. You got 4 years. If in 4 years you haven't accomplished anything, it's a good sign you didn't have a plan or a vision. Make small goals, accomplish small goals, make long goals, and then work to get to the long goal. But if you don't have any goals, a vision, or anything, you have nothing to protect. There is no intellectual property to protect. There is no pressing forward. If I was in church, I would say something like, I look to the hills from which cometh my help. I don't worry about what is behind me because I'm pressing forward toward the mark. If I was in church, I would tell you that what happened to me can no longer dictate where I'm going because the Bible lets me know that greater that is he that is in me than he that is in the world. So in other words, greater is he that is in me than my past. But we're not in church. You know, people always ask me stuff like, how are you so motivational? Sydney, you've been through so much hell. How do you continue to motivate people? How do you continue to, express such great gratitude? How do you continue to talk about the Lord has done so much for you? And you have so many failures. And I remember saying to them, I said, listen, I don't have failures. I have lessons learned. But Sydney, like you were well on your way. I'll never forget having this conversation with a person. Sydney, you were well on your way. You owned your own television station. You were making movies. And now you're just a school teacher. And I remember saying to them, you're right. I'm a school teacher. You're right. I did own my own TV station. You're right. I did make movies. You are absolutely right. I've done a lot of great things, made a lot of stuff happen. But what look at. And some people will say this is arrogance. But I don't consider it to be arrogance. I consider it to be the truth. When I went back to my hometown, after I left Art Institute of Atlanta, to my hometown, I partnered with the company on running a television station. Shortly after the first couple of broadcasts, they decided to pull the plug and not do it no more. Then I partnered with another guy to buy that channel, and I ran it. Shortly after going through that process with him, he decided he didn't want to be it no more, so he left out. When I went back to my hometown, nobody dared to have a photography studio in that city. No one dared to even consider starting a photography company because there were already 3 main photography studios there. You had the gallery. Across the street from the gallery on the main highway was Ronald Goodman or Ronald Graham, something like that. And then way out in the country, you had Cherish Blessings. Those were the 3 main photography studios companies in my little hometown of Douglas, Georgia. And nobody even dared to start their own company or to, advertise as a photographer. Why? There are plenty of companies already here. So they didn't do it. But I dared that. I said, oh no. I can have my own television station, photography studio. I can do everything I want to do. Why? Because it's what God gave me. So I took pictures. I turned one of the upstairs spaces in the studio, in the office space that we were renting, I turned one of the upstairs spaces into a photography studio. And I started letting people come in for free to take their pictures. This is back in 2012. Okay? Nobody ever dared to have another television station in this town. There was only one. It was family ran. And then there was the city's local channel, but nobody dared to do anything different. I said, why not? Why not? I know what I went to school for. I know what's in me. I know what God showed me. I'm going to go for it. When I was in high school, we ran the Veterans Day program live on the local television station, something that had never been done before. So when I took over this TV station, I told my crew, I said, listen, we're going to make some things happen that have never happened before. We're going to be some trailblazers. We're going to do things that this city has never seen before on TV. We're going to run a news network. Why not? We're going to do our best. We're going to do it every day or every other day, but we're going to do it, and we're going to be good at it. And that's what we did. I told them we're going to do the elections live. I remember when I was in high school, I worked for the local television station there. And I convinced the owner to let's do the elections live from location. Halfway through the show, there was an error that happened. And instead of giving me an opportunity to work it out, he said, pack it all up. We're going back to the studio. And that's what we did. To them, it was a failure. For me, it was a lesson learned. Because here I was now owning my own television station. I made a decision, come election, we're doing the election live. From multiple locations, not one, multiple locations. And that's what we did. I put people at certain precincts around the county. And I streamed them video all the way back to my television station. And we ran it live. We done interviews live. I said the Christmas parade is coming. We're going to do the Christmas parade live. We ran the necessary cabling around the corner, through the alley, and up the street to the right space. And we set up a tow truck. We had a tow truck come and park, and we leveled it. And we used the flatbed of a tow truck as a stage. And we ran the Christmas parade right there live on TV for the whole community that couldn't come out to watch it. It has never been done since that day. It was done one time in history, never been done again. So this isn't arrogance. This is me saying I set the stage for people. Because if you go back to my hometown now, you know how many people, African-American young men like myself, who have started their own photography company, who have started their own film company? How many young white boys who have decided they wanted to do television broadcasting and film because they saw me do it? This isn't me being arrogant. What I'm telling you is you've got to protect your intellectual property. You have to be who you're supposed to be. No, I don't have those things now. I don't make the money I used to make. I haven't made a successful film since 2015. But guess what? Where I done my thing at, being me, where I continue to show that I had to be who I am, where I went and done what I was supposed to do, and I learned a lot. Those were lessons learned, not failures. Guess what? There are people there now who are carrying on, who are able to step into positions to do things. Why? Because I've done what I did. This is why it's important that you protect your intellectual property. This is why I go back to the story of Elijah. Elisha had a job. It was to raise up Elisha. If God would have allowed Elijah to sit there and die at that tree and say, I'm no better than my ancestors, then the prophet Elisha would have never been trained and raised up. There are people watching you. I'm telling you right now, there are people watching you, and they want to see you make it. Why? Because if you can make it, then they know they can make it. You have got to protect your intellectual property of yourself. You've got to be who you're supposed to be. You've got to carry yourself the way you're supposed to carry yourself. You've got to be the person that you are. Stop trying to change your personality or mask your personality to win over a certain group of people. Be the person you're supposed to be. Let your light so shine. Be who you are. If that woman wants you, she will learn to love you. Not the imitation of the fake person you try to be. Stop trying to be with someone that don't even consider you worthy of being with. It's not that you're devalued. The problem is they're not meant to be with you. You're not meant to be with them. So stop trying to alter who you are. Change the way you carry yourself. Change your conversation. Stop trying to make yourself look like you're more than what you are to get a woman attention. Just be who you are. There is someone out there for you. And I don't even know why I'm talking about that. But that's the reality. If you put on as if you're someone else, trying to get someone else's attention, trying to get this female's attention, you're putting on like you somebody else, like you do this and that you do that and you do this and you can do this and you studying all this stuff on the internet and all this stuff so you can carry a conversation when the reality is you don't have a clue what you're talking about. Eventually they're going to know it. And eventually they're going to go, you know what? You ain't who I really want to be with. And now you've wasted all this precious time trying to be somebody you're not, and you've lost sight of who you really are. 3 minutes? Cool. So in my closing, it's important that we take ownership of who we are. Be like Mr. Jowers. Run them off the road if they try to stop you from being who you're supposed to be. Kick them off your plane. I'm writing a session that I'm going to do next year in March here in Atlanta. I'll be back. And I'm writing this session. And it's called The Flight of Destiny. And I'm telling you right now, if the people on your plane are not helping you get where you're trying to go, open the door and kick them off. It don't matter if they got a parachute or not. Kick them off your plane because they're holding you down. They're weighing you down. They're not allowing you to get to the altitude you need to get to. Kick them off your plane. I know that sounds crazy. I know it does. But the reality is you've got to do what is best for you. I'm going to say this and I'm sitting down because my time is up. But I watch this show called Survivor all the time. Everybody watch it? Yeah, cool. And I always wait to see at what part of the show is someone going to say, I've got to do what I got to do for my game. And usually it's way too late for them to say that. And usually when they say that, they go and do something stupid and they be the one get kicked off the show next. You got to do what you got to do for your own game from the beginning. You can't wait until day 29 out of 36 to go, I got to do what I got to do for my game. No, day one coming in, I got to do what I got to do for my game. And I don't care what you say. You say vote this person out. I need that person, so I'm going to talk to them. We're going to vote you out. And that's how you got to be in life. You got to do what you got to do for your game. Because at the end of the day, no one else can do what it is you're called to do. No one else can carry out what it is you're called to do. No one else can execute the vision that God gave you because it's a vision that God gave you. So as I walk away tonight, I want to tell you, my friends, brothers, be who you are. Accept the person that you are. Look yourself in the mirror every day and affirm yourself as the man that you are. And take control of your life, protected by any means necessary. There will be challenges. There will be ups, there will be downs. There will be relationships that you enjoy, and there will be relationships that break you. There are going to be all kind of obstacles ahead of you on this journey called life. But my brother, I encourage you, I implore you to make it your business to protect who you are by any means necessary. If she loves you, she'll love you for who you are. If they want you at that job, they will accept you for who you are. If they want you for that gig, they will accept you for who you are. But first, you, my brother, must accept who you are as who you are. And if you don't like it, work towards making changes. Set goals. Set visions. And every single day, affirm yourself. That's important, y'all. And at the end of it all, do everything that you think you need to do so when you look back, you have no regrets on where you come from. I appreciate you guys having me tonight. It's good to be back amongst all of you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to being back in a couple of weeks. And we're going to talk a little bit about destiny. We're going to talk a little bit about inspiration. And we're going to talk about moving forward from this point. All right? Thank y'all so much. Good night. I love y'all.